Welcome back to another episode of our teens-related podcast, wherever you may be, and our Zach LaVine 2024-25 season review. But before we get into that episode, if you're watching on our teens-related YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below. That just spreads this YouTube channel to more people through the YouTube algorithm. I'm also available on Apple and on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcast. Zach LaVine. We're gonna touch on Zach LaVine, his splits with the Bulls and the Sacramento Kings. Zach LaVine delivered what I would think was his most efficient and impact season this past year, once again solidifying himself as one of the NBA's premier shooting guards in this league. And just I believe it was the fourth or fifth time in his career, Zach LaVine played more than 70 plus games this year. Between his times in Chicago and Sacramento, he played 74 games this season. He averaged 23.3 points per game on 51% shooting from the field, nearly 45% from three, ranking second in the league for 3-point percentage, and Zach's true shooting percentage of 64%, which would be a career high for Zach, underscoring his elite scoring efficiency. And notably, Zach LaVine adapted his playing style, reducing his usage rate to just 23.6%, his lowest since the 2021-22 season, and increasing his assisted field goal percentage to 49%. That shift alone allowed him to thrive more off the ball, benefiting from the playmaking of teammates in Chicago of Josh Giddey and a returning Lonzo Ball. And then when he was traded to Sacramento in that midseason move that sent Fox to San Antonio. Again, Zach LaVine came to Sacramento. Kevin Huerter went to Chicago. And even though he struggled early on here in Sacramento, but he really turned it on as the season wind down, helping to keep the Kings in that play-in mix where they have been the last 2 seasons. And actually, Zach LaVine actually earned himself Western Conference Player of the Week on the week, I think that was the 19th week of this past season, where the Kings just wrapped up a 3-0 stretch, and Zach LaVine, he averaged more than 28 points, like 5.5 rebounds, and he shot over 64% from three. Just absolutely incredible. And also he had that game in Detroit, with the Kings, where the Kings would not win that game without Zach LaVine. So just going over Zach's season as a whole, again, 51% field goal shooting. He was nearly 45% from three. Four assists per game, 4.3 rebounds per game. Again, for fourth or fifth time, Zach LaVine played in more than 70 plus games just for the fourth or fifth time in his career. And this season really showcased Zach's scoring prowess and his adaptability, making him a valuable asset in the league. As once again, I think this summer with the Kings, we've already seen the trade rumors and his future here in Sacramento, as once again, as the Kings look to reshape their roster to get better, as the Western Conference is only going to get better. And despite the season that Zach had, Zach's future here in Sacramento, I believe it remains uncertain with the new front office, with Scott Perry, and when Scott Perry was hired, like a couple minutes after the Kings play and loss, a video resurfaced from Scott Perry's podcast of Perry talking about Zach, and the quotes out of that podcast from Scott Perry saying that no question that Zach LaVine can score the basketball, but does Zach impact winning? Zach LaVine has been to one playoff series in his 9-year career. He's only played a total of 4 playoff basketball games. And if you're looking at Zach LaVine, you look at 40 million, 43, 46, 49 million for a guy who's only had one playoff series, 4 playoff basketball games, and then you got that video that resurfaced from Scott Perry. Who knows what Zach's future in Sacramento will be like, but also in that video, it's also said there's no question that Zach LaVine can score the basketball, as Scott Perry said in that video. But does Zach LaVine impact winning? And in all fairness to that video resurfacing of those comments by now Kings GM Scott Perry, Zach LaVine put together a tremendous season. I think it's one of his best in a couple of years. Like if you go back and look at Zach LaVine just a couple seasons ago, I believe it was the 23-24 season, Zach only played in 25 games. This past season between Sacramento and Chicago, 74 games. And if you look at Zach as a whole, he's only played in all 82 games once in his career. And that's way back in the 2015-16 season when he was still with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's played 24 games, he's played 47, he's played 58, but he's only played 70-plus games 4 or 5 times in his career. As he put together a tremendous season this year as a scorer, as again 20 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and a ridiculous 60% shooting between Chicago and Sacramento. Yes, he struggled early on, but he really found his form as the season came to an end, especially in that Kings-Pistons game in Detroit where Zach scored 40, I think it was 40 points to help the Kings win that game. Like, he shot 45% on threes, which was ranked second second best in the league, just behind Seth Curry of the Charlotte Hornets. And while Seth Curry only attempted 182 threes as a low-volume bench scorer for a bad Charlotte team, Zach LaVine attempted 536 threes on a much tougher shot diet, making his accuracy way more impressive than Seth Curry. So through everything that Zach LaVine was done to and more, great rumors this offseason, one team that's maybe interested in Zach LaVine could be the Phoenix Suns. I looked up before doing this episode. The Phoenix Suns were actually interested in Zach LaVine back in January to maybe go with what they were trying to go with, because KD's future is uncertain there this offseason. More than likely, he'll be moved this summer. You got the whole Bradley Beal situation that has not worked out. So Phoenix could be an interesting partner in maybe Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine now would be more easier to move than when he was with Chicago. If you look at Zach LaVine's contract, for this upcoming season, the 25-26 season, Zach LaVine's making $47.5 million. And then it's $8.9 million with a player option for the 26-7 season that could influence the Kings' decision-making, not just this summer, but going forward. And I think the Kings, I think they got to get back to that DHO game, the dribble handoff with Sabonis running this Kings offense. And I think with Zach LaVine, I do think Zach will remain a Sacramento King for this upcoming season. I want to see Zach in that DHO game with Sabonis for a full season to see how it will look. It's not going to be the same as it was with what you had with number 5 and De'Aaron Fox, but it's going to look different. If you have Zach LaVine, you move Keegan Murray to the 3, and in my opinion, you move Sabonis to the 4, and you get an athletic NBA athlete at the 5 position with size and length to play at the 5 position. I believe that will make Domantas Sabonis a much better defender on this team. And whatever the Kings do at the point guard position, in the trade market or in the free agent, it's not a great point guard free agent market this offseason. I think the Kings will probably look in the trade market for that point guard position, but you would have something there. And you got Malik Monk. If you keep Monk coming off the bench where he's best suited, like he was 2 seasons ago during the first team year, Kings might be better than last season, but time will tell to see what Scott Perry and this new regime here in Sacramento do. But Zach LaVine, a tremendous 2024-25 season between his times in Chicago and Sacramento. It's always tough getting moved in the middle of the season because you're uplifting your lives. Like these athletes, they have families, wives, girlfriends, kids. It's always tough uplifting your family in the middle of a grueling 82-game season. But Zach LaVine, he was impressive in his time here in Sacramento as the season went on. And for those reasons, I would probably give Zach a B- for this season. Small sample size. But I'm really intrigued to see what Zach LaVine can bring to Sacramento for a full 82 games this upcoming season. So what do you think about my grade for Zach LaVine as a B- for this past season? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're liking what we're doing here at the Kings Related, please, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and let me know your grade for Zach LaVine. Is a B-, a fair grade for Zach this past season? And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, please hit that follow button, rate 5 stars, leave a nice little review, be much appreciated, and we are available wherever else you get your podcast. I will catch you next time on our Kings Related podcast. Take care, and as always, go Kings.